Hey everybody, how's it going? So we're back here in Planet Coaster in our not a Hershey rip-off, I promise, park, Wilderview Mews. And in true Chacho fashion, it's time to crack open the finest wood-based innuendos, because this week, I've got wood. In your endo. Ah, yes, so welcome back to Woodview Mews, where you can already see some of the changes that have taken place over by the toilets. Now, the first are that all of those trees that I'd lovingly placed have just been ruthlessly ripped out. And the second is that I've got wood so big you can see it from the entrance. But you do have to be quite careful where you place your Woodie, because no one wants to ride an awkwardly placed Rudi. Alright, guys, I get it. Like, it's too much. I'm going to stop. I don't want to get cancelled. The innuendos are just too far. Let's just talk about the coaster, shall we? And talking of which, this is the sightline I wanted from the toilets. I wanted to have a bit of excitement, and I wanted to have it rumbling past the entrance area, and I've now managed to do that. I did originally envision it being slightly taller, but this is the end of the course, and it doesn't carry much speed. And because of the way that these coasters are designed, which I'll talk through in a moment, it doesn't have a lot of speed, so I'm alright with that. I do just need to do some work on this area. I need to bring the path down this way. This is going to be the eventual maintenance area, so it needs to join up at some point, so I will be doing that. I don't know whether that's this episode or it'll be a future episode, but it will come across here. So this is where I've decided to place the coaster then. It's right at the very front of the park. It would have been placed here sort of around the 60s or 70s. It's an original coaster to the park. So for that reason, I get to break some of my cardinal rules. The first one being, don't place a coaster at the end of a dead-end path. This is exactly what this is. It's a dead-end plaza. But think of the way that Cedar Point deals with the coasters at the front of their park. You would tend to find that they'd be busy at the beginning and the end of the day. They wouldn't necessarily be a problem or an issue outside of the rest of the day, right? So this is going to be okay. Now, because these are designed in the 60s and 70s, it's a sprawling coaster. Look at the scale of this. It's absolutely massive. But this is what I would call a careful coaster. Modern coasters can throw trains around a track under tight circumstances. Tight. I'm sorry, I promised that I was going to stop. I can't help myself. It's a disease. So, because modern coasters can throw you around a track, and old coasters can't. So what you typically tend to find is they have long swooping airtime hills, and they have to complete banking at certain specific points before it completes another transition. It works a little bit like the arrow principle, you know, where you bank it and then level it and then you bring it down. So you don't tend to do two things in one movement. But the beauty of these coasters, they don't need much banking because they're so drawn out. They're just beautiful. Think of the likes of Legend at Hershey Park. No, Legend at Holiday World and Comet at Hershey Park. I did rehearse this, I promise. I've done so many takes of getting the coaster names wrong. I'm just not going to. So think of those two coasters. They're old coasters. They get drawn out. So what we've got here as we come out of the station into a pre-drop. Now you do the pre-drop so that you reduce the stress on the lift hill. It's easier for the lift hill if the train hits it at a speed that it can control, as opposed to having to start it from a stop, if that makes sense. So it's actually easier on the stress. And you climb up the lift hill. This is about 25 degrees, set to 7 miles an hour. It's not fast and it's not steep. And it comes into a pre-drop. That's just to make sure that the train can come off the lift hill, so the chain, at a relatively decent torque, as it's called. So you're not putting stress on the top end of the chain. The gravity is taking it away from the lift hill. And then you come down this way into a fairly steep, it's 56 degrees. It's kind of at the threshold of how steep these coasters could be. But into a swooping drop and then a swooping descent. Then into an airtime hill, which is really, really drawn out and really long, and then into a bend. And this is the first time where you have a not that banked turn, but when you have a look at it and when you ride it later, you'll see actually the train's not doing that much speed over the top of here anyway, so it doesn't need to be banked. Here we go. Here's a train. You ready? You ready? There we go. So you'll see that it's not actually doing that much speed over the top anyway. Likewise with this banking here and this one here. So it kills a lot of its speed at the top, and then as it comes down, it increases its banking to swoop down, but it still doesn't bank a lot because it's still not going that fast. Into a bunny hop, into another bunny hop, which has got a steeper descent, and then into a big airtime hill. So each one of these airtime hills has a different sensation, and it has a different outcome to it. Then you come into another bunny hop, and into like a helix almost. But this is designed to kill some of the speed that you've got for the latter part of the course. So it comes around here, and it stops banking at the top as well, and then it continues the banking down this way. It goes underneath where it left, round the outside of the lift hill and whatever, and then into this bunny hop, which is actually a bit of a surpriser because it's terrain hugging. So it's going to come around this way, bunny hop, and then down quite steeply, over the top of the brake run, into the curve by the entrance, and then comes into a couple of bunny hops, and then into the brake run. So as I said, these are carefully designed. They don't necessarily throw you around the track under tight circumstances, but they are very drawn out. And because they're drawn out, they don't have to be so banked, and they don't have to be so supported. I mean, these kinds of this area here probably wouldn't have many cross bracings, like diagonal bracings. This bit definitely wouldn't be multiple supported, so this is all of the supports you would need. This one is all the supports you would need. You'd probably only need a couple here, which the game has already placed in for us. So as I said, they're actually really quite easy to build. I like doing old coasters, and it sprawls. I love how this sprawls. Right, so let me crack on, and I'll see you in a minute. Alright then, you guys, how's this for sightline development? And I was genuinely worried that the park wasn't getting a personality, so I played through some future episode stuff, sort of around episode 6, episode 7 kind of territory. I've hidden it from sight, you can't see it right now, so no spoilers, but it does find a personality, I promise, and it's going to be good. But for now, this is where we're focusing our efforts. You can see that I've done quite a lot of work to the wooden coaster, and we've got something new to talk about in the background. But whilst we're over here, let's talk about this. So this is the sightline that I wanted from the car park, and the pathway that comes from the car park, and I actually quite like how this is turning out. I mean, you've got the turnaround that's here, you've got the double dips, you've got a little bit of view of the maintenance shed, which we'll talk about in a moment. This needs so much touching up, but it's looking pretty much how I wanted it to look. The only thing I needed to do differently was the access path down here. It turned out that this strategy here was just too steep, so I've ended up having to bring it down this way and down this way. This is probably still a little too steep, but it's fine. You don't often take a lorry up there anyway, so whatever, it's okay. But this is where I've been focusing my attentions then over the last update. It's this station. Now, remember that this is not an American park. This is a British park. Just so happens that we're using a lot of American principles, but everything would be still British. So I wanted to use British architecture that would have been around in the 70s, 80s, and the kind of coaster stations that you would find here. Now, we're not talking Art Deco, the likes you would find at Blackpool Pleasure Beach and stuff like that. We are talking very much an open wooden station. This is a wooden coaster. It wouldn't be themed. Wouldn't be themed. Guys, I just come for the crack, it's fine. So yeah, it wouldn't be themed or anything, but what I've done is I just put these wooden archways up and then just put some bracing and stuff in here. And this actually would be self-supporting. This would sit on top of here and then it would support itself. I do just need a little bit of touching up going on. You can see some stray supports and whatever. I just need to put the stuff in. But this is ultimately the design that I'm going for. Just need to put a roof on here, and then inside here I just need to do the Theme Maker's Toolkit pass. All of the usual push points and the stuff. And I don't know if I'm going to do a control booth yet. I haven't quite decided, but that's how it's looking at the moment. Of course, it's got ride photos. This would have been retrofitted, so the actual ride itself, the coaster itself, wouldn't have opened with ride photos to start with. So this is a building they've just slapped on because they were trying to monetize the ride as much as possible. So I kind of like how this actually just sits. It's just there. It doesn't have any real theming or purpose, and it's definitely a crush. Like, it's definitely thumbed in where you possibly can, so I like it. Of course, it needs its detailing and stuff. I don't know if I'm actually going to put some kind of like decoration on the wall or whatever, or whether I'm going to keep it stone. I haven't quite decided. I don't quite like it stone, but it's fine, whatever. And then I just need to put the roof on here. backstage area, then I'm starting to kit this out. I wanted this feeling that this concrete pad may have been there from the very beginning, and actually they put the coaster over the top here. So I'm going to put the foliage and stuff back in here. I'll make this a little bit more overgrown, and this has since been fenced off. Or maybe this was actually in service, but with modern health and safety that's come along, it's actually changed the purpose of this area, and they've had to repurpose it and say, well, okay, we can't use it anymore because of the threat of falling stuff from the trains and stuff. So health and safety would have come along over the last 40-50 years and changed how this area operates. So this would have been fine in one time and not in another. Over into the plaza area then. This is another area I wanted to feel like it's changed over time, because as it sits at the moment, without explaining what's happened, this doesn't make sense. This plaza area is a really odd shape. It sits awkwardly on the sightline. And what I'm saying here is that this plaza would have gone right up to here, right up to the track, where you would probably have had some kind of viewpoint or some kind of access point to see the ride coming through here. And then the queue line probably would have started here, gone over the bridge into this cattle pen back, and then it probably would have run along this side, down here, and then into the station. And then they've retrofitted this. Or actually, no, this cattle pen would have existed because it would have come down here, and then into the station. So that queue would have existed, and then all of this would have been plaza pathway. And I'm kind of saying that as the parks got busier, they've needed to repurpose some of the plaza into a queue area, and that's why it's this god-awful cattle pen that just has no personality and serves no purpose. But then they've also just put some foliage and stuff in here just to make it less intrusive and less... oppressive. That's the word. It's like, what's the word I'm looking for? Less oppressive. So I'm kind of going for that vibe. I'm hoping that I've pulled it off, and I'm hoping that makes the plaza area make sense. I need to play it through to see whether it does or not. So over in the maintenance area, I think I'm kind of finished with this. I just need to put the roof on here. I didn't really want this to be a massive cluttered area, because whenever you look at POVs of any kind of wooden coaster, they're not cluttered. These areas that you go through, they're not cluttered with stuff. The parks do make an effort to hide the stuff. I only did it in Reigate Lake because that was a lazy park. So this is kind of the vibe that I'm going for here. This would be where the main bulk of the maintenance would be. This is where you've got access to the for the vans and stuff. And then you do have some steps going up here, and just some winches and some lifts. And if you did need to get the trains off the track, then they would come out the back here. But I haven't actually decided how this is going to work yet, so watch this space. I need to sort of sort this bit out, because I haven't actually put a back on this yet. So we'll see. I'm going to put some overgrowth and whatever underneath here as well, remembering that this has been around since the 80s. So I need to make it make sense at least. And of course, it needs its don't die fencing along there. So the other thing that I've done here is I have put the chain return in. So you've got a little platform at the top, and then you've got the chain return that sits along here. It's not something actually that I do very often, and it's because the coasters that we've been building in previous parks have all been modern, and they return in the same fashion that they went up, right? But actually, this coaster would have a chain return that comes down here, because you've got this lip at the top, and the chain would come down this way, and then it would come back down to the bottom, and then it just goes in a big loop. And I think that's okay. And then you've just got some steel supports and steel beams here just to support the track from the top. Now, I haven't done any custom supporting anywhere, because the areas that would have it, I'm not entirely certain are going to be areas that are going to need it in the future, if you get my drift. So I'm leaving it for now. But the in-game ones for the lift hill, and the in-game ones that have been supplied in the areas that are definitely not changing, like this bit here, they're fine as they are, because the train's not doing a lot of speed, it's not doing a lot of swaying, it doesn't need a lot of support, it's not in an earthquake zone, it's not in a hurricane zone, it's not in a tornado area, so you don't need anything like that. Don't need hefty supports as such, so this is looking okay. And then this is the final change that we've got here. This is a surprise edition. I put this in because I wanted to get a feel for how the lakefront was going to go. So as you can see, I've put all of the pier and the weir stuff that's in along here, and there's going to be foliage and stuff that will sit on this, and then no trees though. It's all going to be flowers, and then that gives you a bit of an access into the water. But I did want a bit of a barrier between the plaza area and the water itself, so you technically could jump in if you wanted to, but please don't. Just guys, don't do it. But this is where I've done quite a bit of work, and I've wanted to start to work with the terrain, because obviously so far I've flattened everything. And that's not the idea of this park. You don't use a terrain heavy park and then flatten it. So what I've done is I've started this process of bringing the pathway all the way up around here, so you can see it does do an elevation change. It goes up this way, but I wanted to have this area remain on the same level, so you've got a little bit of sightline variation. I've just put the queue in a winding snaky pathway, and what I've done with this one, I've actually taken some cues from Liseberg on this, and I've worked out where the guests actually walk along this pad, and they only ever seem to use this sort of area. And the mechanic uses this sort of area. The rest is completely redundant. So why not put flowers in? Why not actually make it look like something decent? Need to do some tidying up. Obviously, there's a bit of stuff that's gone astray and whatever, but it's all good. And then all I'm going to need to do is just put the plaza stuff down this way. Don't know if I'm going to finish this bit up here yet. This episode, I need to sort of play it out and see. But this is how it's looking from the top, and I'm liking how this is turning out. So let's get it finished. Alright then, you guys, I am officially cracking open my 2 favourite phrases. Done for now stamp. And it turned out way better than I thought. Because, you know, tradition and all that. That's why you keep coming back. But look, foliage has really made this come to life. Oh! That's a third. Okay, my 3 favourite phrases. Foliage just made this come to life. Now, I'll show you around in a moment, and you'll see some of the rough edges around the outside. I need to finish them off in future episodes, but this is the final product. This is what I'm happy with. This is where I'm willing to stop the episode. And we do have a name. Haha. But guys, this was a close one this week. Every time I checked the community tab, it was flipping between 2 names. But Kodiak is the official winner as of 6 p.m. on the Monday evening, as promised. Alex V, welcome back to the channel, my friend. You were a winner, but you had a challenger this week. It was a close call. It was a really close call, and both of which, by the way, were really, really awesome names. Right, so let's show you around, shall we? We are going to start in the station. By the way, just to let you know, the draw distance is what's making this wood disappear. It's the same problem that we had with the ticket office. So if I just go in, you can see that the wood is right across, but it's not going to be on this view. So it's fine. YouTube's going to ruin the ruin the aspect ratio of this anyway. It's fine. It's just something else to get ruined. Right. So Theme Maker's Toolkit pass and whatever has been done in here, it's come to life with that pass. I've just put some lights in. I've put the fans in. I did do a control box in the end, but I haven't done the inside because I don't have room to decorate it on the inside. But you know, it does what it needs to do. It serves its purpose. And then of course you've got all of your baggage hold and your bins and all of the usual stuff that you find in a station. At the back here, what I've done is I've really cluttered this out with a lot of overgrowth. This is an area that would be quite difficult to maintain. I also did a little bit of research into olden style wooden coasters. You tend not to find electrical components and electric boxes on catwalks or anywhere that's close or within proximity of the wood because of obvious reasons. Fire. So you tend to find them hidden away. So I've hidden them down here. But in terms of the lore of the park, you would actually find that a lot of your maintenance stuff would be in this dead area that I've got in the back end of the guest services building. So you'd find all of your electrical stuff, all of your maintenance based stuff in this area back here. So I've moved it away from the station. I have also done the maintenance area clutter, so this is now cluttered out quite nicely. This is pretty much how I wanted it to look. I kind of envisioned it was going to be a little bit bigger. I didn't want it to be a full-on maintenance area, but I thought it was going to be bigger. But hey, I'm happy with this, how this has turned out. You still have the access through this gate, so you can still get in this way. I'm alright with that as it is. Over in the maintenance area, I've done a little bit of touching up and a little bit of work on here just to bring it to life a little bit more, and the foliage and the overgrowth has really made the difference, here, and you can see where I just stopped. And that's because there's potentially something coming in this space here, so I need to wait for future episodes to kit this out. So I stopped there and I was like, well, I'm done with that bit. I love this drop here. Now we've got the trees in place. It feels like it's an actual forest, and then I just put a ride camera in there. It feels like this would be retrofitted. It feels like it would be put in as an afterthought, and this is probably one of the best places you're going to get it. It's either going to be the first drop or it's going to be this bit, because it's a shock. You go over the hill at a relatively slow speed and you've got this massive drop. A little bit, imagine like Wildfire or Comalden's last few drops. There's that one that just like goes down the side of the canyon and you just go, oh my god, what was even that? So that's kind of what I was going for. fenced off this area, so it's now enclosed, it's now secure, and of course you've got your don't die fencing and stuff in the way. Finished off all the plaza. You've seen me use this technique before. You just continue your plaza, your path covers, so you can hide all of the queue line stuff, you know, the queue line gaps and whatever, so it actually looks like it's one continuous area. And then just put a bit of overgrowth in this area as well, just to make it feel like it's sort of, it's been a while since it was transformed. I know in the previous update we were talking about this being the plaza area and up in here. So I have also thought about what would have happened to this ride over the years, and that's why you've got more modern stuff in the station. It would have had a bit of a modernization piece going on to it, but there's not much they could do to it. Ride photos, I have also put those in as well. It seems to be that the game is behaving, so I am able to put these ride photos in for now, so I'll continue to do that whilst the game allows me to do that. As you know from Grosvenor Gardens, that doesn't always work, but it's fine. So yeah, and I did do something on the inside, by the way, so I did decide to keep that, and I've tried to keep it a little bit janky because it is an afterthought. It's just something they've just put in for the sake of it, right? So coming over to the front, the waterfront, I love this so much, like so much I'm going to talk slowly to tell you. So, of course, it's not finished because it's going to go back round this side, so this is why this just suddenly ends. But I've put all of the plants and foliage along here. I've dappled it out with a lot of colour. I wanted this area to feel like there was colour. I just need to wait for Spike's sign, because there is going to be a feature of that sign coming in here, and fountains and stuff, just to make it look good. And I didn't want barriers. I didn't want a physical hard barrier to be put in place. I wanted this to be a soft barrier. I mean, you're not going to jump over anyway, and if you do, then that's fine. I will be putting life rings and stuff in, but I need to let the area breathe. Let the area breathe first. So it felt like it had a prime position for all of the picnic benches and stuff along this area. And look at the view that you get over the lake. Imagine what's going to be coming when you've got all of those coasters that are going to be on the sight line. The next episode, by the way, I'm developing this hill and this hill, so this sight line will be almost complete, or will be largely complete by the time we get there. Just added in some flower beds, by the way, just to separate the main path from the picnic area. Same principle as I did at the front of the park. It felt like I needed to continue that kind of theme. And then this way we've just got an entrance area. I toyed with having a big sign here. I'm still toying with the idea. It feels like, when I talk about the feels right test, it feels like there should be a sign there, so therefore I think there might need to be a sign there. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. But this is ultimately the view that you get of the drop. By the way, just to refresh your memory, 56 degrees. It's just on the cusp of what was achievable in the 70s and 80s. I'm sure I've been inconsistent. I'm sure I've been talking about the 60s and 70s and the 70s and 80s, whatever. In that time period, 56 degrees was about the maximum you could do. So chill out. Have a day off. And this is the view. Whoops, that's the wrong camera. There we go. This is the view of the swings. No, that's not a typo. I have called it Cyclone Swings, or Cyclone Swing, because I wanted to put swing in between the letters. And I guess I could have put the E on the end and made it swings, but no. I wanted to be bougie about this, so that's what I've done. Cyclone Swing. And I love how this has turned out now. I really, really do. Oh, this camera, behave. I'm not even going to re-record this because I'm nearly at the end, so it is what it is. There we go. The camera's just not behaving. But yeah, I love how this has turned out, especially with this queue line that's inside here, and now that all of the foliage and the fencing and stuff is up, it's looking cool. And again, you get a really, really lovely view of the lake across this way. I can't wait for this to be finished. And this is the view looking back. And then if we just come back up this way, this is now the view that we get from the top. So in the next episode, I am going to be developing this area along here, and I think it's probably going to encompass some of this area too, but it's definitely this area and the kids coaster that we are putting in. But guys, thank you so much for getting to the end of this episode. You know already how much of a difference your likes and comments make, because the last episode blew up as a result, so thank you for that. I really, really do appreciate you. You guys are the best community that anyone could ever ask for. So please have a good week. I will see you next week. Until we speak again, please look after yourselves. We're going to go for a ride on this coaster. Just to let you know, I think I'm going to need to do something with the lift hill because it's quite a long lift hill. It's either going to be sped up or it's going to be cut out. I haven't decided yet. I'll decide in editing. But either way, have a good week. See you later. Bye.